Single Mom's Heartwarming Journey Exposed, How a Millionaire CEO's Amazing Act Changed Everything. The morning sun spilled golden rays over the suburb, lighting up the neat lawns and glowing white picket fences that bordered Sarah's modest home. Inside, laughter echoed as she caught her 7-year-old daughter Lily spinning in circles, her hair flying like a halo around her. Yet, beneath this image of perfect family life loomed the harsh reality of a single mother juggling 2 jobs, managing the bustling morning brew cafe by day and scrubbing someone else's floors by night. As she poured steaming coffee for regulars, Sarah's hands sometimes trembled not from exhaustion, but from the weight of worry. Would today be the day her landlord raised the rent again? Would she find enough time to help Lily with her homework after a long shift? Just as that thought crept in, disaster struck. Sarah accidentally spilled coffee on a crisp white shirt, and the room fell silent. Panic flooded her chest. "I'm so sorry," she stammered, her face flushing with embarrassment. The man she'd soaked stood there, tension in his jaw melting gradually at her sincere apology, revealing the trace of a warm smile. He introduced himself as Jack, a CEO from the city, there for a nostalgic visit to his childhood hometown. Their brief chat was riveting. Sarah found herself drawn to Jack's kind eyes and honest demeanor, and he listened intently as she shyly shared tidbits about her life, her determination, her dreams for Lily. For the first time, Jack felt a part of something that mattered more than profit margins, a connection that tugged at his long-buried heart. Days turned into weeks, and Jack returned to the cafe, seeking more than just coffee. He soon learned of the struggles Sarah faced. Her radiant smile could never cover the worry lines etched on her face. One day, moved by her resilience, he decided to intervene, wanting to help without overstepping. He offered her support money to help with her bills, but that gesture ignited a firestorm in the town. "Who does he think he is?" whispered neighbors across the cafe. "A handout? That's not how we do things here." Sarah's heart sank. Once a beloved figure, she now felt the stares of judgment pinning her down. As whispers filled the air, she pulled Lily close, vowing to protect her from the scorn that surrounded them. Each glance from the townspeople felt like a dart aimed at her pride. Jack, utterly unaware of the chaos he had fostered, became at risk of being labeled a villain. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The night of the community meeting arrived. Sarah found herself in the spotlight, trembling under the weight of collective resentment. As she stood before the crowd, clutching Jack's letter of support, her heart raced. She had to speak her truth, but would they listen? A voice from the back shouted, "Why should we give her any sympathy?" A murmur echoed through the room as the air thickened with challenge. The stakes had never been higher. Would Sarah sacrifice her dignity for her daughter? Could she and Jack find a bridge to mend the divide? As the tension mounted, a flicker of hope ignited deep within her. Sarah's journey was only just beginning, and the stage was set for transformation or tragedy. What would she choose? Sarah took a deep breath, steadying her racing heart. Her palms were clammy as she clenched the note from Jack, the ink slightly smudged from her sweaty grips. She scanned the room, searching for a friendly face amongst the sea of cold stares. The people she had served day in and day out now held her future in their hands, and it felt unbearable. "Listen," she started, her voice trembling but gaining strength. "I didn't ask for help because I wanted a handout. I did it because I wanted to provide a better life for my daughter." She noticed Lily, sitting at the front with wide eyes, fidgeting nervously with the hem of her dress. The murmur shifted, curiosity slowly replacing contempt. "You all know me," she continued, allowing her heart's desperation to seep into her words. "You've seen me scrape by, serving coffee and cleaning homes. Every day I hustle to make ends meet, to ensure that Lily never feels the burden of my struggles. Another voice piped up from the back, but why should we support you when you could try harder? This insult pierced her, and she felt the heat of shame wash over her. Sarah didn't want pity, she wanted understanding. Every evening, I tuck Lily into bed, whispering dreams of a bright future. Is that wrong? Her resolve solidified as she looked up. Yes, I accepted help from Jack. But he is not my enemy. He sees potential in our town just as I do. We should be lifting each other up, not tearing each other down. A low hush settled in the room. It was clear that some members of the audience were beginning to reflect. The whispers became subdued as murmurs turned into quiet consideration. Maybe, one townswoman said, a spark of compassion breaking through the tension. Jack leaned forward in his seat, visibly moved. He could see Sarah's authenticity shining through the cracks of uncertainty. It reminded him of his own struggles growing up, of feeling like an outsider. Can I speak? Jack's calm voice broke through the silence, momentarily surprising everyone. As he stood up, the air crackled with uncertainty. I know how it feels to be judged. I grew up here, just like many of you. My family struggled too. A layer of understanding began forming between him and the townspeople. My support for Sarah was born not out of charity, but out of respect for her grit and determination. I believe in investing in people who want to grow. Questions burgeoned in the crowd, skepticism lingered, but there was a shift. They were finally starting to see how they could be part of Sarah's journey rather than a barrier. What can we do? Someone asked tentatively. The room trembled with barely contained hope. At that moment, Sarah's heart swelled. Maybe they could become a community again. She could see realizations dawning on faces. Before she could respond, a sudden memory flashed in her mind, a time when she felt utterly alone after her husband left, but here was Jack, with an unexpected allyship. We can work together. If you share your resources, your time, we can make a real change. Together, we can build something beautiful. But just as excitement began to bubble up, a loud bang echoed from the back of the room. The door swung open, and in walked a newcomer, a tall figure in dark sunglasses and an imposing black coat. All eyes turned as he called out, "What's this nonsense about community support? You think handouts will save you?" A chill ran through Sarah. Who was this man, and what did he want? Caught off guard, the room held its breath as tension spiraled once again. Is this new intruder a threat or a chance to uncover hidden truths? The stakes were higher than ever, and everyone could feel it. The journey wasn't over, it was just beginning. What would Sarah do next? Sarah could feel the heat rising in her cheeks as the stranger's voice sliced through the fragile moment. The air felt thick, pregnant with doubt and uncertainty. She glanced over at Jack, whose brow furrowed with concern. He stepped closer to her side, a silent show of support. Who are you? A brave voice called from the crowd. What do you want? The man adjusted his sunglasses, a smirk creeping onto his lips. You're all dreaming if you think this will work. Empty words won't change the reality of your lives. Excited murmurs began to bubble under the surface again, but Sarah refused to let this man derail their growing hope. Who are you to judge us? She almost shouted, her voice steadier now. You can't know our struggles, our dreams. You don't know how hard we fight for a better tomorrow. A few heads nodded in agreement, but the stranger showed no sign of backing down. It takes more than words. It takes money, power. I've got both and I can help. His voice lowered, almost conspiratorial. But it comes at a price. Concern washed over faces in the crowd. Sarah could see fear mingling with uncertainty, which felt like a slap to her drive. We can do this on our own. She insisted, moving forward, holding out both hands, palms up. We don't need to sell our souls. Jack took a breath, stepping in front of her. You're wrong. This isn't just about financial support. It's about trust and community. We're all in this together, and that's our strength. He turned to face the crowd. We're not going to be bought or manipulated. We want a future built on collective effort, not a transaction. The tension hung like a weight, but something shifted in the crowd. Sarah could feel it, an ember of courage igniting. People started to share glances, nods of solidarity beginning to cascade through the room. You'll see, the man sneered, taking a step back, as if the communal strength rattled him. When you fail and you will, don't come crawling to me. But Sarah wasn't about to back down. You underestimate us. You don't know what we're capable of. She took a moment to look around the room, her heart steadying as she recognized the determination shining on familiar faces. We are mothers, fathers, workers, dreamers. We may struggle, but we rise together. A ripple of murmurs resonated, echoing sentiments of resolve and resilience. Could they actually do this? Could they fight for their dreams without relying on a stranger's money? As the stranger shook his head in frustration and stormed out, a wave of energy washed over the crowd. Jack turned to Sarah, his eyes bright with possibility. You did it. You stood up to him. Sarah felt herself glowing, a warmth spreading in her chest. Together, she whispered, realizing the power they possessed. This isn't just my fight. It's ours. The room buzzed with ideas, plans forming like strings weaving a tapestry of hope. But even as the atmosphere lifted, a lingering worry settled deep in Sarah's bones. What if the man returned? What if his threats held weight? The evening progressed as they brainstormed, each person eager to chip in. But even amidst their newfound camaraderie, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that their journey remained far from over. Let us schedule a meeting to outline our plans, Jack suggested. If we can come together, we'll lay a foundation that supports everyone. As people began to disperse with renewed determination, Sarah caught sight of Lily, who stood by the wall, apprehensive but hopeful. Sarah approached her and knelt down. Did you hear that, sweetheart? We're going to build something amazing together. Lily nodded, her wide eyes shimmering with hope. Can I help? Of course. But just as they embraced, Sarah felt that same chilling sensation as before, the nagging fear that they might not be safe. Sarah. Jack's urgent voice broke through her thoughts. She turned to find him with a look of alarm, pointing toward the door the stranger had exited. Something isn't right. Questions raced through her mind. Was the man really gone for good? What would he do next? The air crackled once more. Destiny hung in the balance, and Sarah realized that the next step they took could change everything. But what would it be? The door swung open, a gust of cold air rushing in, and for a moment, Sarah's heart raced. She turned slowly, her breath hitching in her throat, as the stranger reappeared. He stood there, silhouetted against the dim light of the hallway, but this time he wasn't alone. Two other figures flanked him, shadowy and imposing. Still dreaming, I see, he declared with a mocking chuckle, surveying the room. The crowd fell silent, the hope that had just been kindled flickering like a candle in a storm. Back off! Jack shouted, stepping protectively in front of Sarah and Lily. We don't want anything from you. His voice wavered slightly, revealing the underlying fear they all felt. The man's companion stepped forward, towering over the crowd. They were dressed in suits that screamed authority, and their cold gazes were more than enough to wipe the hopeful smiles off faces. Sarah's mind raced. This was not just a confrontation, it was a warning. Perhaps you need a reality check, the man continued, his grin twisted, eyes glinting with malice. I'm here to remind you how foolish it is to think you can change anything on your own. He gestured to his companions, who started to scan the room, eyes assessing, as if calculating weaknesses. What do you want? Sarah found her voice again, steely and unwavering. We won't cave to your threats. The man moved closer, invading her personal space, but she stood firm. What do I want? I want you to see that hope is a nice little fairy tale, but in the real world, people fight to survive. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. You may have your dreams, but I hold the keys to make things happen. All I need to do is unlock the right doors. Fear rippled through the crowd, and several people took a step back, glancing at one another, weighing the risks of standing their ground. But Sarah felt the tide of resolve push back against the fear. She locked eyes with Jack, and for a moment, she saw their shared strength reflected back at her. Keys don't guarantee a better future, Sarah argued, her voice gaining strength. You think money can buy loyalty and dreams? We value each other more than that. The crowd began to murmur again, some faces lighting up with encouragement. The man's smirk waned. Dreams don't pay bills, sweetheart. Just wait until reality hits hard. He glanced at his companions, and they both crossed their arms, bracing for her next move, but Sarah wasn't about to fall apart. Maybe reality is already here, but we refuse to let it define us. Together, we are stronger than your money. Jack took a step closer, his voice a firm anchor. What you don't understand is that we are already building something valuable. Community. That's worth more than anything you could offer. The man chuckled, but the laughter lacked conviction. You think this is a game? I'm here to play for keeps. At that moment, Sarah's heart pounded louder than before, but she held on to her fear, channeling it into something greater. We won't be intimidated. We'll face you, together. And if you come at us, you'll find a wall of people ready to fight back, not just a few worried souls. The tension in the room was electric, charged with determination and defiance. But as she spoke, Sarah realized that for every ounce of courage she felt, the lingering dread of what this man was capable of still loomed over them. What now? Jack murmured to her, his voice low. I don't know, she responded, and that uncertainty sat heavy in her chest. What would it take to truly stand against this man? Then Lily tugged on Sarah's sleeve, wide-eyed and innocent. Mom, are we really going to fight him? Sarah turned to her daughter, forcing a smile despite the chaos. We will do whatever it takes to protect our dreams. Right, everyone? In unison, the crowd exploded with shouts of agreement. It felt like a wave crashing against the shore, pushing back against the tide, but as the man stepped back into the doorway, a promise of vengeance written on his expression, Sarah's heart sank. This was just the beginning. Where would this fight lead them? What consequences would their hopes draw down upon them? The air thickened with questions, the answers unknowable. How far were they willing to go to protect the dreams they dared to hold on to? The dim hallway felt colder now, charged with a heavy silence after the man's retreat. Sarah took a deep breath, but it was laced with doubt. The faces surrounding her were a mixture of concern and resolve, but she could sense the seeds of fear lurking beneath the surface. Are you okay, Mom? Lily's voice broke through the tension, her small face tilted up with worry. It struck Sarah how innocent her daughter looked, the stark contrast to the threats hanging over them. I'm fine, sweetheart, Sarah replied, placing her hand gently on Lily's shoulder. We'll figure this out. We always do. But as the words left her lips, she felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down, the pressure of leadership that was heavier than she anticipated. Jack stepped closer, his brow furrowed. We should rally. Make sure everyone is on the same page. If he comes back, we need to be ready. Right, Sarah agreed, her heart racing. But we also need to keep our spirits up. No matter how grim things seem, her voice trailed off, the flicker of hope waning just as fast as it sparkled. A few community members, emboldened by her earlier words, began to voice their concerns. What if he brings more people? One woman exclaimed, her voice trembling. What if they try to take our homes? Behind them, an older man, who had been silent until now, spoke with a quiet authority. Fear can take many forms, but remember, we've faced challenges before. His gaze swept over the crowd, a quiet leader echoing their shared history. This is our home, and we will protect it. The murmurs of agreement grew stronger, voices rising higher as they collectively remembered their strength. Sarah felt a flicker of warmth, the kind that slowly spread through the crowd. Maybe they could turn this fear into something more, something they could work with, to guide their fight. Let us organize a meeting at the community center, Sarah suggested, her voice steadying with newfound resolve. Everyone needs to know we're going to fight back in whatever way we can. The crowd began to disperse, energized by the idea. Each person was a small light, a flicker of hope in a world that felt increasingly dark. Sarah watched them go, her heart swelling with pride, yet still weighed down with worry. "Mom, what if?" Lily started, her voice small again. "What if they hurt us?" The innocence in her daughter's eyes struck Sarah like a punch. "Listen," she knelt beside Lily, needing to be strong. "It's okay to be scared. But we're going to stand together. No one is going to hurt us. Remember what we talked about? Community." Lily nodded, but her brows remained knitted. Sarah felt a knot tighten in her own stomach. Could she guarantee that safety? The night seemed to stretch endlessly as Sarah lay in bed, replaying every word, every threat. The man's laughter echoed in her mind. What was he capable of? And more importantly, how would they defend their dreams? The next morning brought a renewed determination. In her quiet moments, she scribbled down a plan, reflecting on the collective spirit she had felt. Together, they could gather resources, skills, and hopes to build their defenses. As the sun rose, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Sarah felt a spark of defiance growing within. She wouldn't let fear dictate their future, but just as she was ready to share her thoughts, her phone buzzed with a message that made her heart race. A familiar name flickered across the screen. It was a call to action, a link to something she'd never considered. Could she reach out for help where she least expected? With her heart pounding, she realized the true fight was only just beginning, and the choices she made now would change everything. What did that message hold? Could it be the lifeline they desperately needed? Sarah stared at her phone, the familiar name almost surreal against the backdrop of her chaotic thoughts. It was Emily, her college friend who had left town years ago to chase a corporate dream. A part of Sarah had always admired Emily's boldness, the way she effortlessly floated through life while Sarah had anchored herself in this community, in motherhood. "Hey, Sarah. I hope all is well." The text started with cheerfulness that almost felt jarring. The contrast to her bleak reality was sobering. Emily went on to offer help, saying she had been thinking about the old days and wanted to reconnect. Could she really ask for Emily's help? After all, they had drifted apart, their lives diverging like two roads. Emily's world was filled with power suits and high-stakes meetings. But deep down, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Maybe Emily could connect her with resources, perhaps people who could help fortify their home, their community against the rising threat. Gathering her thoughts, she quickly typed back. "Hi, Emily. It's good to hear from you. Things are tough here, and I could use some support. Can we talk?" The response was swift, and as she read through Emily's encouraging words, Sarah's heart warmed. They arranged to meet at a nearby cafe later that afternoon. Sarah's mind raced. It had been years since she had confided in someone outside her community. Was she ready to lay her struggles bare to an old friend? That afternoon, as she walked to the cafe with Lily holding her hand, nerves bubbled in her stomach. What would she say? How much could she reveal without sounding desperate? She felt the burden of vulnerability settle around her like a heavy blanket. Yet part of her knew it was worth it if it meant saving her community. The cafe was bright, filled with laughter and the aroma of fresh coffee. As she approached the table where Emily waited, her heart skipped a beat. Emily looked different, confident and polished, but the warmth in her eyes was unchanged. They embraced, and Sarah felt a rush of familiarity wash over her. "I'm so glad to see you," Emily exclaimed, her voice genuine. "Me too," Sarah replied, trying to match her enthusiasm, but her nerves crackled beneath her calm demeanor. They settled into conversation easily, reminiscing about college, the carefree laughter of youth. But Sarah felt a tug at her heart, hovering between nostalgia and the stark reality looming over them. Then, it hit her the moment to bridge the gap between their lives. "Emily, things have changed a lot for me. There's a crisis at home," Sarah said, her voice catching. Emily's brow furrowed in concern. "There's this man, he's a threat to our community. I don't want to burden you, but I feel like I need to ask for help." As Sarah spoke, every word felt like a release. Emily listened intently, her eyes never wavering. "I had no idea, Sarah," she said softly. "What do you need? I might be able to help." In that moment, Sarah felt a weight lift off her shoulders. There was a strong possibility here, a connection waiting to be reignited. They brainstormed ways Emily could reach out to her network, rally support, and even discuss legal options. Hope glimmered, and with each shared idea, Sarah felt more empowered, but just then, Sarah's phone buzzed again, a notification glaring ominously on the screen. Another message from the man who had threatened them. And it wasn't good. "What's wrong?" Emily asked, her brow knitting in concern. "It's him again." As Sarah showed Emily the text, she felt her stomach drop. In that moment, the stakes became painfully clear. The road ahead was fraught with danger, and they had no time to waste. Could they stand strong together in the face of what was coming? The answer hung in the air between them, charged with uncertainty. The time for action had arrived, and whatever lay ahead would change them both forever. The silence that followed was thick, like fog creeping in, settling in the corners of the cafe. Sarah's fingers trembled slightly as she held her phone, the screen displaying the chilling words from the man. Emily leaned closer, her voice low and urgent. "What does he want?" Sarah took a deep breath, summoning the courage that seemed to vanish like morning mist. "He says he's coming to town. Wants to meet alone. And what if you say no?" Emily's eyes widened, concern rippling through her. "You can't let him intimidate you." "Intimidation is what he feeds on," Sarah answered. "He's relentless." The weight of her words hung heavy, and for a moment, they both stared into the cup of coffee between them, its steam swirling like her thoughts. But then Emily's expression shifted, a fire igniting in her eyes. "We'll figure this out. He can't control you, not anymore." The determination in her friend's voice stirred something deep within Sarah, clearing the cobwebs of despair. "But how? I've been dealing with this alone for so long. I don't even know where to start." Emily reached across the table, her hand firmly clasping Sarah's. "You're not alone anymore. I have contacts. Lawyers who specialize in this. Maybe we can look into protective orders, too. You need a plan." As impulse surged through her, Sarah's heart raced at the thought. A plan. It had been so long since she felt equipped to take action instead of simply reacting. "Do you really think we can pull this off?" "Yes, I do," Emily replied, squeezing Sarah's hand. Just as Sarah was contemplating the dawn of possibilities, another buzz interrupted their connection. This time, it wasn't a text, an incoming call. When she glanced at the screen, dread pooled in her stomach. It was him, the very reason she had been so hesitant to reach out. "Don't answer," Emily whispered, instinctively sensing the turmoil rising within Sarah. Against every instinct, Sarah's finger hovered over the green button. Her heart pounded in her chest, and she could feel Emily's gaze on her filled with encouragement, a silent plea to take back control. Taking a leap of faith, Sarah pressed decline. The relief washed over her almost instantly, like sunlight breaking through clouds. "I want to let him dictate my life. Not anymore." "Exactly." Emily grinned, an infectious enthusiasm sparking in the air. "But we need to act fast. Can you gather your neighbors? We'll need everyone on board to stand against this." Though uncertainty lingered like a ghost, a sense of belonging and strength washed over Sarah. Yes, I can do that. They'll rally together. They care about this community. Good. Emily beamed, her confidence resonating in the space around them. I'll start making calls. We'll begin gathering resources, spreading the word. Together, we can put a stop to this. As their plans unfolded, a mix of excitement and anxiety surged through Sarah. She marveled at how quickly hope had weaved its way back into her life, threading through the darkness with newfound strength, but then her phone buzzed again. Gritting her teeth, Sarah glanced at the screen. Another message from him. The world around her dimmed as she read it. This one felt different, threatening, ominous. What does it say? Emily asked, her voice dropping again, with her heart racing. Sarah's eyes widened. He wants to meet tomorrow at my house. The air felt charged, a suspense hanging between them. Tomorrow loomed large, the weight of it pressing against the walls of the cafe. There was no more hiding. What they'd been building would now face a true test. Then it's decided, Emily said, a glint of fierce resolution evident in her eyes. We stand together. Sarah nodded, knowing that tomorrow would not just change her life, it would change everything. The moment of truth approached, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last. What would happen when their paths collided? The next morning dawned dreary and overcast, the clouds hanging low like a heavy blanket. Sarah sat at her kitchen table, staring at the clock. Each tick sounded louder than the last, a constant reminder that time was slipping away. Just the thought of him coming to her house sent shivers down her spine. She glanced out the window, half expecting to see a familiar shadow lurking outside, waiting to pull her back into the suffocating past. Instead, she saw a few neighbors walking their dogs, their easy laughter drifting through the air. The sight sparked a flicker of courage in her heart. She needed to remember that there were good people in her life who cared. Emily arrived half an hour early, bringing fresh coffee and a palpable sense of determination. I've talked to a few neighbors. They're ready to support you, she said, her voice steady and reassuring. But remember, we can't let fear win today. We've planned for this. Sarah nodded, swallowing hard. I just can't shake this feeling. What if he shows up with more than words? What if he tries something? Stay calm, Emily replied, her tone fierce. You are stronger than he knows. We'll be here for you. As they reviewed the small contingency plan they had crafted, Sarah's phone buzzed again. This time the message was simple, I'll be there by 3. Her heart raced. The clock's hands moved relentlessly closer to that hour. Let us not wait until he gets here. How about we head outside to gather everyone? Emily suggested, breaking the tension in the room. With a deep breath, Sarah stood up, feeling a bit more confident. They stepped outside, where the familiar faces of neighbors greeted them. Some offered warm smiles, while others carried expressions of worry tinged with solidarity. Thanks for coming, everyone, Sarah began, her voice steadier than she felt. I know this sounds strange, but I need your support. I'm facing someone dangerous today. The murmurs that followed brought a mix of comfort and resolve. You're not alone, Sarah. We'll be right here if you need us. The familiar faces around her wrapped her in a cocoon of community. Care and concern ignited a warmth in her heart, bolstering her resolve to stand strong against the storm that was gathering on the horizon. As the countdown to 3 continued, Emily held Sarah's hand, squeezing it tightly. We can handle this, she reassured. The minutes passed, the tension in the air becoming almost palpable. Time felt like it was closing in, each tick hammering the reminder that he was coming. When the clock struck 3, the doorbell rang. Sarah felt her breath hitch in her throat. The moment of truth had arrived. This is it, she whispered, staring at Emily, who nodded, determination etched across her face. With a racing heart and a knotted stomach, Sarah approached the door, each step feeling heavier than the last. She hesitated, her hand hovering just above the knob. What lay on the other side could change everything. Emily leaned closer, her breath warm against Sarah's ear. We're right here if you need us. But remember, you're in control now. With a deep breath, Sarah opened the door. Everything would change now. The path before her was uncertain, and yet this was her moment. That I in the doorway stood him, cloaked in the confidence that had once struck fear into her heart. What's next? She thought, feeling the weight of the world pressing in. As their eyes met, she realized that the stakes were higher than ever, and this confrontation would determine her future. Could she finally stand up for herself? Or would the shadows of her past pull her back once more? She took a steadying breath, trying to read the expression on his face. Was it remorse she saw or something darker? Memories rushed back, flooding her senses, the late-night arguments, the hurtful words hurled like weapons. But she wasn't that scared girl anymore. What do you want? She asked, her voice stronger than she felt. He stepped into the entryway, looking around as if weighing the changes since his departure. I came to talk. Just give me a moment to explain. His charm was still there, but it only annoyed her. Talk. After all this time? Sarah cut him off, urgency rising in her chest. You think you can just stroll back in and act as if everything is fine? You have no idea what your absence has done. Emily's grip tightened on her hand, grounding her. She caught glimpses of her neighbors watching from the porch, their reassuring presence still intangible yet vital. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, he said, though his tone lacked the genuine weight of remorse. But I've been doing a lot of thinking. I want to be part of this part of your life again. For a moment, silence hung thick between them. Sarah felt the impulse to succumb to anger, but instead, she inhaled deeply, summoning strength from the support behind her. Part of my life? You lost that right the moment you left, she shot back, her heart thumping defiantly. This isn't about you anymore. It's about me and my daughter. His expression shifted, the confidence fracturing, replaced by annoyance. I came here because I care, Sarah. You should let me help you. Help? The word tasted bittersweet on her tongue. How could he think he could swoop in and be helpful? Did he really believe he could erase the hurt just by asking for a second chance? Let me show you. I want to make things right. We can be a family again, he said, voice rising slightly. Anger bubbled in her chest, hot and unyielding. A family? Is that what you call it? You left, you walked away when it got hard, and now I'm supposed to just stand here and pretend like you haven't changed my life forever? As his facade crumbled, Sarah saw doubt flicker in his eyes. There was a desperation there, one that ignited a surge of vindication within her. Maybe this isn't about what you want, she continued, her voice cutting through the air, but about what I need. And I need distance from you. I need to protect my daughter from being drawn back into darkness disguised as charm. At these words, a silence fell over the room. Neighbors exchanged looks as if rooting for her unyielding spirit. The clock ticked loudly in the background. Could she really do this? Suddenly, he took a step forward, desperation radiating from him. But Sarah, I've changed. I can be there for you now. Don't you want someone who understands you? Pain shot through her, wrestling with her determination. But she was not that same girl who would crumble under pressure. I need the man I loved back then, not the one who hurt me. And he doesn't exist anymore, she said firmly. The silence stretched out as his expression morphed from pleading to something colder, anger swirling beneath the surface. Fine, he hissed, backing away. You'll regret this. His voice trembled with a mixture of threat and accusation, and for a fleeting moment, fear gripped her heart. Will I? She responded defiantly, meeting his gaze unflinching. And just like that, the door was closing. As it clicked shut, Sarah's chest constricted, a tidal wave of emotions crashing over her. Had she done the right thing? Or had she struck a perilous chord with consequences still hidden? She turned to Emily and the neighbors surrounding her, the support of their presence bolstering her resolve. Yet unease filled her heart. What lay ahead was still uncertain. As her eyes lingered at the closed door, an unsettling feeling spread throughout her. What if he didn't walk away? What if he decided he wouldn't stop? With her breath hitching again, she realized the weight of her choices was beginning to settle in. Would she be able to keep her daughter safe? As questions spun in her mind, she sensed that the battle had only just begun. The sun peeked through the clouds, casting a gentle golden hue across the suburban landscape once more. Inside her home, Sarah stood surrounded by the love and support of her community. The door that had just closed on her past felt like a fortress of hope now. Her heart still raced, but she felt a new steadiness within her, a strength she hadn't known before. Jack, Emily, and the neighbors crowded around her, the room buzzing with a mix of relief and exuberance. "You did it, Sarah," Jack said, eyes shining with pride. "You stood up to him. It wasn't easy, but you didn't back down." "I'm so proud of you, Mom," Lily's voice called from the corner, barely containing her excitement. The little girl bounced on her feet, her innocence lighting up the room. "We showed him. Right?" "Right." Sarah grinned, her heart swelling. She took a moment to glance around the room and let the warmth of her community sink in. This was home. A sanctuary built on trust, connection, and resilience. They were ready to fight together. "We need to make a plan," Emily said, her voice bringing everything into focus. "We can't let fear rule our lives anymore. I want to let him control me. I want to live in hiding," Sarah declared, her fists clenching at her sides. "We're going to stand together, and if he comes back, we'll be ready." The air was thick with determination. They spent the next hour discussing strategies, pooling resources, and gathering strength. Each person contributed ideas, sharing what they could offer: time, skills, connections. Laughter and chatter intertwined, as Sarah felt a deep sense of belonging wash over her. She looked at Lily, who was now sketching a picture of their family in the margins of the tablecloth, her face calm and focused. It filled Sarah with resolve. No more fear. We rise together. As they finalized their plans, the atmosphere shifted. There was a collective realization that this wasn't just about fighting a single threat. It was about building a community that could support one another. "Let us create a neighborhood watch. We can look out for each other," one neighbor suggested. Ideas blossomed, and each voice added to the momentum. Sarah felt invigorated. "We can hold workshops, share skills, maybe even host community gatherings to strengthen ties," she said, the vision of a united community solidifying in her mind. Just as plans began to take shape, Sarah's phone buzzed again. It was a notification, and her heart sank as she opened the message. But this time, instead of dread, she felt a sense of empowerment. "It's from Emily's contacts," she announced. "They're willing to help with legal support." Cheers erupted from the group. They were turning pain into purpose, fear into action. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the world in hues of orange and pink, Sarah gathered with her neighbors outside for the first community meeting. She stood at the front, looking into the faces of those who believed in her, who stood by her side. "Today, we take back our power," she began, her voice steady and strong. "We are not just individuals, united, we are a force. Today is not just about me, it's about all of us." With Lily cheering at the front, Sarah's heart swelled. As she spoke, she could see the worry lines on the faces of her neighbors slowly soften, replaced by determination and resolve. "Together, we will rise and protect our dreams. Together, we can create a better future." The crowd erupted in applause, and a strong wave of unity surged through Sarah. They spent the night sharing stories, laughter, and dreams, binding their hearts together in an unbreakable knot of community spirit. Days turned into weeks, and Sarah's commitment transformed into action. They really did form a neighborhood watch, hosted workshops, and brought happiness back into their streets. Jack helped connect them with local businesses who offered support, and Emily's network grew, bringing in resources from unexpected places, and though the shadow of the man still loomed, the strength they built shielded them like armor. He never returned, eventually. Sarah stood before her neighbors again, eyes shining with hope. Look at what we've built. Look at us. We are stronger than we ever realized, and all it took was unity. We faced our fears, we fought back together. Tears filled her eyes as she gathered Lily into her arms, feeling the embrace of family and community around them. This is our home, and as long as we have each other, we can overcome anything. In that moment, surrounded by love, Sarah realized that she had forged a new path not just for herself, but for everyone she cherished. They were on a journey of resilience, painted with hope, laughter, and courage. And they would always face tomorrow together. Now, if you're inspired by Sarah's journey and the power of community, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for incredible stories that can change lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more hearts just like yours. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. And share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. They deserve the hope that comes with community. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Let us spread this message far and wide together.